is going to be a little bit different of a heavy duty Dorman Lunch and Learn. Obviously, Swede will still be the instructor. We're going to allow you to open your mics up. Now, a little caution with opening your mics up. If you have a lot of noise in the background, turn it off when you're not speaking. So rather than using the chat box, you'll be able to actually speak and give your opinion, or maybe you got a great tip. Everyone knows something that we don't know. So this is all about you guys here. It's the end of the year. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, happy everything, right? So we cover all the bases there. So I see like Gino and some guys that are normally on are back on. We welcome you. How do you put your mic on? I'm allowing each one of you to speak. Make sure you turn your cameras off, okay? And if you want to turn your mic on, you have the ability to do that. Go next to your name or on the bottom, and you'll all be able to click on and speak. Why don't a couple of you guys try it? And let's see.
Jordan,
Can you hear me, Swede?
yes, I
Yeah,
can.
look at
I
that.
was
We
going to
can.
say, are you driving now or?
Well, I'm driving. I'm headed to the restaurant, so
Oh, nice. Okay. Uh,
I got
bring
to
me a
keep
cup
the
of coffee.
spirit of lunch and learn, you know? I got to get the
Yeah.
food involved.
Bring me a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'll send it by mail.
There you go.
Very good. Okay, Steve, I see you're on, Steve.
Yes.
Good. We could hear you. And Bob and Dan and Doug and Ed, the rest of you guys, if you want to turn your mic on, you could do that. That way, when Swede starts going in about 3 minutes, you guys could add your comments. And again, if there's noise in the background, just click on your mic and you can unmute it.
How do I shut my video off?
You're not,
It
Jordan, you're
just
not
should say,
on. I
Okay,
yeah,
can't
good.
see your video.
yeah, the only thing that comes up is when you speak, a black screen comes up, but that's not a problem. Yeah, video, the camera is not on for you guys. We did not allow that. And of course, keep it clean. No F-bombs or stuff like that, right? Because this will be recorded and people can go back and view it. So we'll keep it professional. And for you guys that just came on, you are going to be allowed to speak. I am allowing you in to turn your mic on. So rather than type in questions in the chat, which we won't be looking at, you could ask Swede anything you would like or add to what he's saying. So I see Tom and Andreas and Robert
Yeah,
just
this is it's
just came
filling up
in.
the screen.
Yeah. So you basically are all allowed to speak. If you unmute your mic, you can say hello, you can say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy. So all there for you. Dorman Lunch Learns, there'll be another one next month, obviously, in 2026 in the new year. I will do my lunch and learn tomorrow if you guys mix light duty with heavy duty. Tomorrow will be no start, gas no start, and I will also open the mics up. A little bit different this year.
No start, crank no start, or no crank,
Crank no start. Yeah.
crank no start.
So cranks over, but no start. And what could cause it, right? There's a bunch of stuff that can definitely cause a no start. And you'll be surprised of some of the things you may not even think about.
You have to expect the unexpected in today's world with that kind of stuff. You know, fuel and spark is a lot more to it than now. I mean, I had one that was pretty old school, but I had a plugged exhaust caused a no start a few weeks ago. So
Oh yeah.
that's
You could even have belts that prevent you from starting.
yeah,
Tensioner pulleys.
yeah.
I mean, there are many, many things that cause no start.
Yeah, if it's seized and slow cranking speeds and yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're 12 noon. If you want to get going, Swede, I'm gonna shut my mic and be
Ab-
quiet.
Absolutely.
All yours, brother.
Thank you. And chime in anytime too, Uh, Jordan that was talking before, actually we wound up talking for an hour on Sunday night. It was it was great networking. What Jordan does, he's I'm talking about way up north. We think we got bad weather in our area, but he's way up north in Canada. He's only the only game in town, so he's had to learn no matter what gets thrown at him. It's like doesn't have anybody holding his hands. So up there he gets a lot of Jordan. I'm glad you came up over here. Guys, we wanted to do something different, kind of. I've noticed month after month, it's same people that are coming up. And if you see me looking, I'm looking at the screen over here. Uh, it's nice to see your names and everything. And I figured, you know what? We're getting close to the holidays and be nice to hear the voices and, no pressure, and all that good stuff. And we'll give it a whirl and see where we can go. Now, I did put a little slide presentation together just to get the conversation off the ground here. So, whenever you do, once we get past the slides a little bit, do me a favor, let me know, I can see your names on there. I can see when you're talking, just a little bit of, what part of the country you're from, and we'll figure this whole thing out. So appreciate that. So let me switch over to slides real fast. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, forget about me, I'm up there anyway. So again, in a handout, I'm not going to spend much time. I'd rather spend time talking audio version, voice. It's meant to engage conversation, networking, sharing your ideas, real world vehicle issues, and so on. Uh, I'll start out the slide presentations, and there's a reason I'm doing that. Industry statistics, industry trends, industry needs, blah, 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 this again. So, but let's start out, okay? I want to put into perspective basically what our industry is about. So I just went online and I got the latest stuff following from that. That's the latest available. I found on this particular portion, registered vehicles, all 200. Can you imagine 283 and a half million vehicles in this country? What about the large trucks? 14 million, even buses. I mean, they're, most of them, again, consider them commercial motor vehicles, passenger carrier. But it always, always blows my mind. Million vehicle miles traveled in the United States. And now I'm into large trucks, okay? All vehicles 3 million over single units. And when you see that it's not 3 million one, it's in million vehicle miles traveled, okay? So again, we're into a lot of usage of vehicles. Of course, we're in the commercial motor vehicles portion of it, so we're not like the passenger cars. So when your vehicles, our vehicles, or the vehicles we work on, your fleet, whatever, they go out, they do take they're prone to possibly once in a while get pulled over for those spot inspections. And last year throughout the country, I mean 2023, the inspection totals were a little over 3 million. And I broke it down in states, not that it doesn't matter, but the amount of people, and that's what I wanted to put into perspective, is you got like 13,564 inspectors across the state, okay, and it's a split. But go back in the previous slides, the amount of vehicles, the amount of miles, and it's the same way with us guys, us technicians, the amount of vehicles, the amount, and there's only a few, comparatively speaking, there's only a few of us trying to take care of all these vehicles out there. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? We're doing a pretty damn good job of it, considering, the all the amount of vehicles and miles traveled and stuff. And of course, I just threw that in. This is, of course, what companies fear the most. The consequences affect them. And I just threw that in because, to be honest with you, I think we're doing a pretty good job, staying on top of it. And to be honest, my trainings, I stay really busy because of that. All the companies and fleets fear that. So now, frequent vehicle violations, and I've had it before, we do have issues out there. We don't live in a perfect world. You can see over there the top violations. My only problem with those is that there's still a lot lacking in our industry because we keep coming up with the same violations, the same top 20, whatever way you want to look at, year after year after year after year after year. And I'll be very honest with you. I just got through a conversations with a group of people and says, something is wrong. It's not the reason we have these problems. It's not good enough to have your drivers out there, hey, do a pre-trip, and it's like, what am I doing? I'm looking at 10 tires around black. There's my pre-trip. No, we can do much better and they need to rely on us. We're the defense for all these issues. The next few slides, it's the same thing. I don't want to spend that much
I
time.
don't, Swede, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but
Yes.
I wouldn't put all these violations. I mean, it falls back on us somewhat doing our inspections and preventative
Yes.
maintenance, but the biggest thing is on the drivers and the fleets trying to cut cost, but at the end of the day, they're not cutting any cost by not doing maintenance. So the onus, as far as these violations, I say the weight of the onus favors the fleets and the drivers because, like you said, the drivers look at 10 tires and that's their pre-trip.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet, every dollar I have to my name that nobody's crawling under trailers every day doing checking their brake adjustments, especially in the cold climates.
Yeah, that's when I do regulations trainings, I do a lot of regulations trainings and stuff. And Jordan, you're absolutely right. I tie in us guys, the techs and mechanics that we need to recognize, and I'm not trying to this isn't a put down on the drivers. To be honest with you, one of the issues we have with drivers is that how can you possibly look at something that's bad if nobody ever shows you what's bad? And when I do my classes, and it's usually techs in here, unless I have enforcement guys and other people. I do a lot of driver training too. But I tell the techs, it's like, who's the best people to teach these drivers how to do these pre-trips? It's you guys. You guys are the best, not the owner of the company and all that stuff. Because again, we're going back to the same thing. I'm not trying to fault the drivers totally. It's the way the system is set up, so you know. And this one here, okay, this is what it's all about. If you look at total crashes by vehicle type, large trucks, 503 buses, all vehicle types over 5 million, okay? And the scary part is like nobody wakes up in the morning to try to have an accident unless there's something definitely freaking wrong with you. But that stuff happens, and I get involved sometimes. I'll get calls on fatalities, and would you go da 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 blah blah. You know what I'm talking about. But there's always a reason for it and everything. It's not always mechanical. A lot of it is inattention by the drivers. I mean, there's so many factors. But the point being is that if you look, this is our job, to be very honest with you, to try to reduce that. And I think, sometimes everybody loses sight when they look at numbers like this, is like, because we are doing a great job. How many lives are actually being saved? I would like to see data on that kind of stuff because you guys, I'm talking, when I say we, I'm talking about all you guys, you know. Yeah, good point. Also, company managers push, 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 And again, unfortunately, it needs to be a team effort. The only reason I put this up there, I just did the previous one was crash with whatever, but I put together myself and a lawyer that was on the opposite end of a crash, and it wound up being, I'm not going to make a long story at all, but it wound up being a combination of a lot of stuff. And basically, part of it boiled down to that little MV3 valve. And, so myself and a lawyer for the Truck Association in New York, we put a good 3 hour presentation together on what to look for if you have a fatality and how the whole system works, the depositions. If you've never been involved with the depositions, I mean, you know, so Ed, you can use your mic to speak if you like for this. Yeah, good point. Thank you, Doreen. But the whole bottom line is, yeah, sometimes what we do for a living, it does affect us. Okay. Now, let's put this in perspective. To service all these vehicles, all the miles, there were 390 million, excuse me, truck and bus and diesel engine specialists. Am I reading? I think I got that wrong. Okay. From US, I got this from a Bureau of Labor Statistics. It shouldn't be 300. It's 319,900. Okay. But regardless, okay, it's projected that our industry, our portion of a technician mechanics is projected to grow 2% from 24 to 34. And to be honest with you, that's slower than the average for all the occupations, And again, they're trying to project this stuff. Despite the limited employment growth, about 26,500 openings for diesel technician mechanics are projected for each year. Now, it's not that we've increased the amount of fleets and trucks. Guess what? There's a lot of people exiting our labor force. A lot of guys are retiring. So we need to replace all these people. And to be honest with you, look at what you guys do for a living. A lot of guys, I mean, sometimes this work can be very, very hard. A lot of guys are saying, you know what? I want to be like somebody else, just sit behind a computer and just, have my coffee and everything else. So there's a lot of guys that can't handle this stuff. I'm going to switch this over a little. I just recently, my Jordan, the guy I hired, he wanted to change the oil on his own vehicle on a Saturday. I said, I don't care. I'm here every single Saturday. I come here. It's my kind of alone time. I try to, catch up on without people bothering me. And, it's one of the days I do my Taekwondo over here with a bunch of black belts. So I says, yeah, no problem. So he asked me, can I bring my friend along? He called him his minion. I don't know what the hell a minion is. So I says, yeah, no problem. So it was another young kid. So my guy Jordan, and he's over there. He's like, okay, he got his vehicle on the lift. He says, this is what you do. This the minute that minion touched that oily whatever, filter, he says, oh man, he had to rush to the bathroom, wash his hands. He says, I don't know how you guys do it. I'm never gonna do this. So I'm using this as an example of what's going on out there. So hang loose a minute. We're gonna get into this a little bit because these are all bullet points that we can start talk about. So again, demand for these workers may be reduced as more firms turn away from diesel-powered trucks, vehicles, and favor those that require less maintenance and repair. But even in this one, I'll be very honest with you. I got a PowerPoint I put together for electrical vehicles and stuff. You know what? You take your Class 8 vehicles, you take your medium ones, you're still going to have brakes. It's still going to have to build up here. You're still going to have light on there. When you got mechanical motion and components moving, somebody's got to grease them. Somebody's gonna have to do that. And don't forget, okay, you got a driver that's so used to having all the conveniences in the world. I mean, they want to have that heated seat, the heated whatever, stereo playing and all the comforts in the world, air conditioning. So I think our jobs will be secure for a long, long time.
And as
But
long as they
however,
have,
I'm afraid
as
to
long as they
ship
have
their
after
truck.
treatment systems, we'll never be out of work.
Do what?
As long as they have after treatment systems, everybody will be
Oh
busy.
yeah, yeah. That after treatment system, the sin of it is, that, you know, the let me put it this way, okay? I started out, she started out, we started out with cars with OBD. We were doing tons of training and everything else. And I get the concept behind emissions. I mean, if you actually look at the statistics and everything, your the health outweighs, let me put this, the health outweighs everything and so on. So we try to
And
reduce the health stuff. But at the same time, what I'm a little disappointed in is with our, I don't want to throw cast stones, with our technology. You would think that in today's world, if you're going to come up with this emission stuff, you could have worked out the bugs way ahead of time and everything else. Because that's, Stephen, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the issues with the fleets. They're going to have that emission stuff comes on, it goes into due
I
date, and
don't mean to interrupt you,
do what?
Sweet. I don't mean to interrupt you, but back to what G said, as long as there's emissions, everybody will have work. That is very dependent on the geographical location and the political side of that state. So I was having lunch with a friend of the guy that my diagnostic laptop is with down in Miami, Florida, and he was telling me that every truck in the city down there is deleted. Where in Canada you get hung
Yeah,
if you have a
yeah.
deleted vehicle. So
Well,
it's
Jordan,
very geographical.
yeah, I should have rephrased this. I don't know how old any of you guys are, but when I got back from uh I was in the Marine Corps. When I got back from Vietnam, to be very honest with you, I figured, you know what, I'm gonna get into trucking and all that stuff. And when I first started, I mean, those diesels were filthy, filthy, filthy. I mean, I spent on weekends trying to. It was a different world, between you didn't have the fuel quality, you didn't have anything freeze ups. I mean, I remember lighting a fire under the tanks and stuff, trying to get vehicles started and everything. But the point being is every vehicle at that time, it was huge, huge black on the sides of the vehicles. So I'll never forget when we started to get into computerization. Okay. Uh, Everybody's order, oh no, this ain't never gonna work, this ain't never gonna work, and blah, 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 this. But when we got into computerization, you know what? It actually did work. I mean, as a fleet, your miles per gallon got much better. Your The amount of miles, take my word for it, guys. You had to be back in the day. You were able to make your engines last longer, and the reason was because everything was clean. It was running clean. But my point being is like we can do all that stuff, and
In my opinion, I think the best years of vehicles were like early to mid 2000s when it was electronic, but not with
yeah,
all this after treatment stuff.
yeah,
Like look at the seminar. I didn't watch all of it that Bernie or no, the video call that Bernie and G had together about modern carbon buildup. We didn't have this carbon problem 20 years ago, and we had computers in 2005.
yeah.
So, look at all the carbon problems we have now. It's not leaving the tailpipe, it's all staying inside the engine, and that doesn't work.
No, no, but the point I was trying to make is like, we have all this TPF, and all that stuff and everything else. I find it a little kind of like disappointing, and this is where I was going to head to, is that I would think that our engineers and technology is smart enough that they could have done a better job of it, is my point. Guys, let's face it. I mean, I remember when speaking of cars, it's like you got some high maintenance item stuff in there. Spark plugs always, I'll use that. I mean, first time, I owned a Kia and everything. I'm ordered to change the spark plugs. I got to pull the intake manifold off. Really? Look at the headlights and all the lights in today's vehicles. I mean, there's stuff that always has to be maintained, but why are you making our job hard to do all that stuff? And you can't tell me that you can't come up with the technology to, okay, so even if all this stuff is mandated, kind of make it somewhat bulletproof. And don't get me wrong, Jordan. I mean, that emissions right now is keeping me super, super busy. So let me just real fast get to slides and we'll get back on our conversations.
Hey,
So how
Swede,
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. One thing I'd like to add there. You're right. The technology out there should be way ahead, but what really kills that is government regulations. Every 4 years, we could elect a new president, and depending on what party is in there, really changes things. But one
Yeah.
good thing for us in this industry, AI is not taking us out of a job, where other sectors will have some huge problems.
And
So we're needed in this world to keep
exactly.
America
And
running.
and Gene,
That's the biggest problem, G. You hit the nail square on the head. Is that's what's the engineers the engineers are forced by the EPA to meet these standards, and that's what's causing all the problems with GDI vehicles and after treatment, and the list goes on.
That is a true statement there. They can do it, but they are held back by little rules and laws that, the vehicles, like Swede said before, are running so much cleaner than the days when Swede and I first got in this business. So they're keeping the air cleaner, which keeps us healthier, but it really does wreak havoc on certain things that we have to do on these vehicles.
and then that's the point of this conversation too, guys, that as things change, we need to be capable of following those changes. I have older guys out there that are like, you know what, I can't, give me the old stuff and everything else. Well, the world is changing. Where a lot of you guys that are on the call here, Lunch and Learn, reason you're on is because you are the changers. You don't sit back. You're like I shouldn't say you're going with the flow, but I think one of the benchmarks of a good technician is that no matter what you throw at me, I'm gonna fix it. Period. Okay. Because unfortunately, I mentioned about my Jordan, my friend that doesn't want to do anything. And this is not a put down on a generation. I think we all need to share a kind of a blame of why we have a generation that's kind of like isn't willing to do a lot of stuff. But and I'm not trying to make fun of it, but today we got a generation of guys that are like, if they get a home or apartment or whatever the case may be, and if that bulb up there kind of breaks or it doesn't work, they're like, what should I do? What do you mean, what should you do? Change the freaking bulb. But this is why you guys are special. You guys are that certain breed that no matter what gets thrown at you, you're going to make it happen. Because what you guys are doing for a living, if it was easy, I'll be very honest with you, there'd be no shortage. There'd be no shortage whatsoever for technicians. This is like uh, my hands. Guys, look at your hands. Okay. Now, I work out, okay? But the strength that you guys have with your hands and stuff is totally different than the guys that are over there trying to be Mr. America and all this stuff. Come on, you guys that have had to change clutches and stuff, man, take that big clutch pack and everything, put it in the bell. You're underneath there like this. You ask one of those guys, that work out constantly, dude, it's like you're crazy. When I first got this place, there was an old gentleman, Tex Coleman. I bought it from him. The guy was like 80 years old. He was crippled. He got jammed between a truck and trailer. I mean, you could write a book about him. But I was kind of always a little tensed up doing his stuff. And he never realized all his life he worked with his hands, all that stuff and everything. He'd come from behind me and he'd squeeze my neck over here. And he'd squeeze my neck and he would meant in kindness, hey, you're all wound up and everything else. He never realized that when he put his fingers on my neck, I'd be over there down like this. It's like, whoa, Tex, back off. You don't realize. So what I'm trying to say is, guys, think of the price you pay, your hands, we also pay some health prices. And does the public actually realize, what we sometimes sacrifice to keep everything going? So let me wrap up the slides. Again, addition, aging vehicles with diesel engines are likely to require more maintenance. And that's true. Economy isn't the best right now, so people are holding on to more and more vehicles. I mean, that's the statistics. The longer they hold on, the longer they get used, the more work is for us guys. So commercial motor vehicles, drivers, interstate, 3,800,000 interstate. So there's a lot of drivers, there's a lot of carriers out there, okay? And again, those numbers are always fluid. Enforcement actions, business turnovers, licensing, many other issues, and so on and so on. So somebody mentioned that can you all see that little red box over there on that slide?
Yeah.
You know what
We
that
can,
is? I do a lot of work with Amazon, and they just started to, in their distribution centers before the vehicles go out, they got these cameras, and this was about maybe 3 weeks ago. There is it's a back light, and that which is it wasn't best a picture, but it's a housing for the bulb, and the housing had a crack. And this vehicle went through there, and guess what? It caught the crack, and all of a sudden, this vehicle's down until it gets fixed and everything. So, okay, cosmetically, AI might do stuff like that, but when I do drivers trainings and stuff, okay, really, you're gonna let AI to determine if it's a defect in a vehicle and stuff? Are you kidding me? We're having issues as it is. You have a lot of the people with when they do the ELDs, they go there with a barcode reader, and I always make fun of it. It's like these fleets think, oh, this is the greatest thing because it forces my guys to do pre-trips. Really? You're gonna go up to that frame, by the tire, beep, tire, blip, by the light, blip, 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 brake, blip. Did you really do a
It
pre-trip?
forces them to electronically sign it rather than use a pen. That's all it does.
Yeah, exactly. But the bottom line is, whether you use a pad, whether you do that, are you really doing a pre-trip? Because to be honest with you, regardless, especially us guys, all the preventive maintenance and all the defects and issues, it happens on the floor. Okay, you physically have to look at things, you have to move things, and this is especially this time of the year is a perfect example. You know, that driver, he's not gonna go through packing through snow and everything else looking at this kind of stuff. It's up to us when we do PMs that we really, and shame on the company if I go up to them and tell them, listen, you're like close on your brake lining, thickness. Shame on you. It's like, you know what? We're heading into the winter months. Change those freaking things. Why don't worry about close. It's like keep your driver out of trouble. Who's going to keep him out of trouble? It's us guys that keep him out of trouble. So, but that's what I was trying to do is, the big thing is conversation out. Can we stay ahead of all the technology thrown at us? You guys tell me, do you have any regrets getting into it? And that's the other thing I wanted to do. If there's anybody who wants to chime in, hey, how did you get into it? What was there something wrong with you? What possessed you to get into this? Does the industry as a whole provide tools we need to work on today's vehicles? So, again, the expectations are for us to do a lot of this stuff, but who's out there helping us? Do we get enough tools? Do we get enough, or are we just one of those inconveniences to, yeah, I'm going to hire the guy and, hopefully he keeps his vehicles going. And in my mind, you know what? We are the ones that keep the vehicle going. But there's a lot of fleets out there that take their mindset, and and not every fleet, but I think sometimes too, if there's somebody out there, maybe they're bean counters, and it's like, you know what? Our drivers are out there earning us money, but what is that guy in the shop doing? Come on, you guys tell me, what's the guy in the shop doing? Earning your money? in their mind, they're probably looking at us as taking the profits away, you know. And I think that's not the way to look at it. So let's start. Anybody out here, if you wanna say something, again, unmute, and then do me a favor, tell me where you're from. Tell me, tell me anything. Hey, how'd you get into it? Were you drunk that day or whatever the case may be? Just kidding, guys. I think, a lot of us have done some stupid stuff when we were there. So, but go for it. Gino, I know you've been around for a long, long time. Hello, anybody?
No, hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi,
absolutely, Gino.
this is Gino. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and in King City. I'm actually a high school instructor. I'm on my
Oh,
lunch break.
nice.
Yeah, I'm on my lunch break right now, so that's why I was on mute because I've got too many kids running around here. But anyways, just like you were saying, as far as interest, what have I seen in my close to 30 years of teaching? And I was in industry prior to that. So I've seen many kids that actually are engaged still, those kids that just like we were, hands-on, and you can actually see some of them are natural born students like techies. Other
Yeah,
ones they have to build it up. And those ones are still very successful. But the generation that we're in right now with the cell phones, the videos, the TikTok, all that is actually holding people back. It's because it's basically their attention spans are being reduced, and anything difficult, they just put their blinders up and just say, "Well, I can't do this," because they've never really had to struggle. And
yeah,
so these are the things that are my challenges that I want them. Well, the thinking and inquiry, the higher order learning, we got to just somehow pull them away from too much. I'm not saying we have to cut off the internet because AI, there's a home for AI for us. But if we can cut them back somehow, I don't know how we're going to have to do this because I've been struggling all these years to get these kids more focused and engaged and get them out there. I always tell the kids when it's get your first car, get a beater, and you know how much you're going to learn off of that thing, and then build from there. And then there still is hope. So yes, there is a shortage. We've had a shortage for a long time, but there's still hope out there. I still see some positive signs.
You stole the words out of my mouth of telling someone who wants to learn how to fix shit to buy a beater. And they'll learn a lot because they'll feel the problem, they'll fix it, they'll make bad calls, change parts by mistake, and instead of the customer wearing the brunt of it, hopefully not, but it happens a lot more than it should. They'll wear the brunt of changing a part without, diagnosing it first. So that's a good thing to be telling these young kids.
Yeah, I think the appreciation of being successful through a repair that you've done with your own hands. So those are the memories. This is where the kids start to remember, and this is where how I start leading them into the field because of those connections of their successes. Because a lot of times they haven't been told that, and a lot of times also parents are directing them somewhere else. So when I see these little sparks, I always try to promote those guys and hopefully direct them in like post-secondary to a college, trade school, right to the workplace. And I've had many kids go into truck and coach. I've had kids go into aviation, obviously automotive, new car, used car, garages, my whole community here. I've been here so long. I'm part of the community here. So I have kids that have come back after many years and told me the success stories. And it's nice to see. So there still is hope. It's just we got to somehow curtail that whole attention span issue that we're losing, right? And they need to struggle more. This generation has been given a lot. They need to struggle more because I know, like you guys, like myself, probably a lot of us grew up with zero, and we built it up our own way, right? And this is what a lot of kids need to see today. They need to see some struggles. They can't understand it's always given to them because they think they're going to turn 16 and the parents are going to give them a brand new vehicle. They've never even changed the oil. They couldn't care. Oh, just give it to my dog. Just take it to someplace. Somebody else will fix it. And I tell them, guess what? you better have deep pockets in the future, because if not, you'll be fixing it or you'll be walking. So, you know, it's a struggle, but there's hope. Again, there's hope. I hope I didn't go off tangent
No,
here too
no,
much.
you're making very valid points, because let's go backwards. When we had schools years and years ago, you had your shop kind of stuff. And that's where, you might find a kid or something that'd be like, oh, I kind of like working with my hands and stuff. And farmers were a very, very, very good source of technicians, because in the day, if you had a farm, you basically if something broke, you fixed it. You made it. I mean, come on, those people were probably making their own parts. When I first started, even in the trucking, you didn't always run over to the parts store and get something, Uh, how did I learn about starters and alternators? Take them apart, put brushes in, do this, do that, cut the commutators and stuff. Today we don't do that kind of stuff. But you're right with the kids. You call them shit beaters and everything else. But we as parents, to be honest with you, we haven't even bothered to take the time out to have your kid know how to change a tire, simple stuff like that. Or do you even know where your dipstick is? Stuff like that. I mean, it's like you're absolutely right. I think we've kind of gone in the cycle. We give, we give, we give. And to be honest with you, it's one of those generation type of things that we had it hard, probably, us older people and stuff. So you wind up giving everything. It's like, I don't want my kids to go through this and da 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 da. I'm gonna give them this, give them that, give them this and stuff. And maybe we're wrong about doing that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe we should have kind of thought about says, well, you know what? I'm not going to make life totally hard for my kid, but I want him to feel what it's like. And, there's nothing like having things go wrong. There's nothing like, if you fail once in a while and if you got good character, you fail things. Come on, guys. It's like you guys, something goes wrong one day and stuff. What are you going to do? You got to pick yourself up and you're going to, not do the same mistake and you're going to work hard. So there's a lot, we can put blame all over the place for all this stuff. And by the way, the phones, when I teach the classes, I make sure I have no qualms telling everybody that, it's like I get it. Unfortunately, with the phones, because these are all in service techs in here. And I come out and tell them, listen, you know, I understand that maybe you got a second shift that's, or first shift you're working a second shift, first shift doesn't know where you put the part or an emergency happens. That's one thing. But don't ever sit in my class and you're over there watching Facebook, TikTok, and somebody mentioned TikTok and all that stuff. I got to tell you, either the phone goes or you're going to be out of the freaking class, because someplace we do have to put the line on. I don't know how it is in your areas, but in my area here, they've actually instituted a lot of schools. It's a wake-up call that the kids now, when they go to school, they take the phones away and they put them in a locker and stuff like that. And believe it or not, the early initial data coming back is showing that it's actually working. The kids are actually starting to pay attention. Because years ago, a college did a study, and because one of the biggest things is, no, I can multitask. I can be on the computer. I can listen to you. I can do that, and blah, 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 blah. You can't do that. You absolutely can't do that. You cannot multitask. It's like distractive driving. When I do driver trainings, and I'm not going to ask all you guys to do this, but if I got like 30 drivers there just to prove a point, I'll ask him, okay, and they'll look like there's something wrong with me. I'll look, okay, everybody, let's count together, one, two, whatever, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the next thing is, okay, let's do the alphabet, everybody together, A, B, C, D, da, 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 da. And then the next thing is, okay, guys, this time I want everybody to go A1, B2, C3, and all of a sudden, as it gets higher and higher, everybody's kind of like, distraction, phones, So, go ahead, guys. You're doing really great. Somebody else besides Chino.
Swede,
Yes.
Swede, I think the biggest distraction you hit on there is basically the phone. I mean, I'm constantly looking at it because I get a gazillion emails.
Yes.
But when it comes to teaching, when I've done some of the big schools where I do a train the trainer at, and they get 40 something thousand dollars a year for 6, 7 months for these kids to come through, most of the kids in the class are definitely on their phone on TikTok and all that. So how much can you actually retain from a class that you're in? So I think, and I always tell people, even I give books out in a class, don't look at the book. Take notes, but I want you to pay attention to me or you're going to miss something. Because people will try to read ahead of you, as you know, Sweet. You've seen
Yep.
that in classes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Swede, I
Yes, sir.
I have a comment with regard to technicians getting into the industry and staying in. I got out of flat rate in 1985.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole debacle. The CEO of Ford is saying he can't get technicians to fill his bays. We all know what that's about. I mean, I don't need to elaborate on that
No.
to make a point. And what's frustrating is we're working on vehicles with 30 or more modules, talking other over whether it's over a 1939 CAN bus or whether it's a 1979 CAN bus for light vehicles, and the list goes on. And the other technicians are leaving the trade saying this is ridiculous. I got to buy my own tools. I got to do all this training. I got to keep up to date on this. And when a job comes back that goes south, whether it's my fault or whether it's a part fault, I got to do it again for free. And they're saying this is nonsense. I'll go into HVAC or I'll go into plumbing or whatever. I'm already mechanically inclined. I'll do one of these other trades. So, this is an ongoing problem. I retired 2 years ago. I worked for fleets for over 40 years, and I worked 2 days a week at a local shop helping the guy out. And he's got two apprentices, and these apprentices are glued to me like, oh my God. And the owner says, this guy's a wealth of knowledge and it's rewarding. I love what I do. My body, as you addressed before, is a problem. I mean, I've had surgeries and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
However, I still love what I do. And that's why my wife says, why are you buying with all these training classes? I said, once you stop learning, you start dying. And I like what I do. So that's a satisfaction factor. As far as getting new technicians, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse because,
Yeah.
no parent is telling their kid, oh, you want to be an auto mechanic or you want to be a truck mechanic. No way. Oh, go to school and get a degree in this, that, or the other thing. And I don't blame them, So I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely going to get a whole lot worse because everybody wants creature comforts. They want heated seats. They want air conditioning. They want climate control. They want running boards that retract and go out when they get out of their pickup truck. They want all these fancy things that we don't need all this nonsense. But
No.
so and a new pickup truck is $80,000 or $90,000. I mean, who's got the money for that? And then when it fails, I mean, the quality of the builds, my opinion, it's gone down. So, and then they don't want to pay the technicians whether it's heavy or whether it's light. I mean, the fleet I work for, thank goodness, was hourly. However, the light vehicle side, it's like, oh well, that water pump job pays 8 hours if it's customer pay, but 4 hours if it's warranty. Well, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. So I don't know what the answer is. Someone's got to come up with a better plan because it's not working. That's just my 2 cents.
Stephen, you hit the nail on the head. The big thing is no parent is going to tell their kid to go into truck or automotive repair for the simple reason, like you said, in most places you got to buy tools. I have over a couple of $100,000 of hand tools, never mind diagnostic junk. If I drop dead tomorrow, it's probably all worth about 20 grand, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So, when you look at the money that they can make in other areas, being an electrician, I got friends that are electricians. They may have 5 grand of tools in their truck. They're all pulling over 6 digits a year, and it's a way easier job than being a truck or automotive mechanic. So I
I
think it
think
needs to be a prettier look and I've done this in schools to tell people, we keep America running, we keep your air clean, but the pay is not there. And when Farley from Ford Motor Company is saying he's going to pay 100,000, try to go one of their dealers and get $100,000 to start. Because
That's a load of baloney as far as
you
I'm
bet,
concerned. And
I agree.
I work for large utility fleets, and the joke was for years the revolving door. Go in and get a job as a mechanic because they're always hiring, and then as soon as you get your time in with the union or whatever, you go transfer to be a lineman or a gas department or whatever the case may be. You're going to make a lot more money. You don't have to work the shift work. So and that's kind of where I'm coming from. Although I still love what I did, so I stayed doing what I. But too many great guys I saw. Yeah, I'm out of here. The first opportunity I get, I don't blame them. And like you say, the linemen didn't have to buy their own tools. The gas department guys didn't have to buy their own tools. The underground guys didn't have to buy their own tools. And but in most cases, the mechanics did. And someone, I don't know which one of you said this, that the fleet owners see you as an expense. Oh, well, this costs too much. Oh, can we save some money there? Oh, can we put this defer? Oh, just do the PM and defer the maintenance. What? Did I just hear that properly? No, I'm red tagging the truck. You as the supervisor, you can red tag the truck if you want. I red tagged it for X, Y, and Z. You can go pound sand. If you don't like it, you can fire me. That's okay. I'm not bending on. I do a DOT inspection on a truck and I don't like something on it. It's getting fixed, or someone else is going to release it to the fleet. Now, luckily, the fleet I work for didn't push back on that. I was very thankful that no, it needs brakes, it needs steering components, just fix it. It was more like how soon can we have it as opposed to the cost. But I can see where a lot of small private fleets are like they're pinching pennies. I get it. They want their trucks on the road, and at the same time they don't want the expense because you're an expense. The truck needs an engine, or it needs a new DPF, or it needs a whatever. They don't want to spend the money on that because that truck isn't turning revenue.
Yeah, well, they think they're saving money by not doing the maintenance until they have to get it fixed on the road, or they get, you know, stuck up the butt by the DOT, which they deserve, But
Yeah.
back to the Ford CAO crying they can't get techs. I think that's actually a good thing that Ford's crying, because maybe, just maybe, it'll wake the Ford up, because it's horseshit. Why? Because they couldn't build this thing, and there's defects because of their poor quality builds, or their fault. Why should the technician be wearing the brunt of that and be paid less, but the consumer pays more? That's horseshit. It should
Mm-hmm.
be just even across the board. So it's actually, I think that's a good thing that Ford's crying, because maybe they'll wake up. And I'm still doubtful that they will, but it's what has to happen for these manufacturers to wake up and see what has to be done to fix it, to retain talent.
I truly don't believe that it's just Ford. I think a lot of the OEMs are in this same scenario. And as far as how the pay structure and everything else like that, because I've had friends that were in dealerships and they left and said, no, I'm going to go do something else. I'm tired of going home with 20 or 30 or 35 hours of pay when I've been at the shop for 50 or 60 hours and I had a bad week, or I got nothing but warranty work or what have you. So that's one thing that has always been a issue for a lot of people in the field, that they only want to pay their technicians flat rate. And I'm like, there's got to be a better system. I mean, these vehicles need to be fixed, and at the same time, they got to pay the people what they're worth to do these repairs. Because let's face it, okay, give the service writer a lot of credit. That individual has to coordinate parts and talk to customers and yada yada yada. But let's be honest, are any of the vehicles going to get fixed without the mechanic in the shop doing the repairs? Yeah, the mechanic may not be a good people person for a service writer. He can still able to talk to the customer and tell him what he needs. He can still do the repairs, but that service writer, unless he was a tech, he's not going back there and fixing that truck. So, so be it.
Or
I
uh,
think, with Ford coming out saying that, it is Farley, coming out openly to the public and saying that techs need to be paid more money is a start.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of the OEs need to do it. Independent repair shops need to look at their labor rate and see why they can't afford to pay their technicians more money. You know, it's a race to the bottom sometimes when you see some people charging, $40 an hour for argument's sake. How can you afford to buy those Snap-on Mac or Maco tools or whatever, or stay in business? And a lot of people go for the cheapies, right? I mean, when you see a consumer, they see a 59.95 brake job. State of California outlawed a lot of that type of advertising because you don't come out for 59.95. They sell you the kitchen sink, and you would have been better off going to a guy who's charging you a fair labor rate that he could pay his people right. He has guys that are certified that go to his classes. You've all seen the good shops and the crappy shops, right? But our industry has tons of issues that unfortunately, I mean, I've been in this business so damn long. You always hear, oh, when they came out with some new technology, that's going to change stuff. It hasn't changed a damn thing.
How about some of you other guys? Pick any subject you want. That was the whole idea, so we can hear from you guys. Orlando, I saw you wanted to talk. Roy, Robert, all these guys out there. And again, do me a favor too. If you like Orlando, I saw you were going to come on there. I saw the little green box come on. Let me know where you're from. Because I remember from a lot of the other places. Other lunch and learns I did. I was totally surprised. There were some guys on from Ukraine and foreign countries and stuff like that. Because the other thing I'm trying to do over here is that, this is great, guys, because I'm hoping you're getting the idea that, you know what, we're all in the same boat. Again, I mentioned before, we're kind of, I shouldn't say we're different, but this isn't for everybody. And somebody mentioned about staying up on top of it. And I think to be honest with you, that's another kind of uh trying to find the right word. Uh it's part of your DNA, whatever. If you're a mechanic technician, you're always hungry to learn. I noticed the good guys, uh, uh Jordan, all you guys, Gino, Geno, I've known him for years. We're constantly texting back and forth and discussing stuff and looking at stuff that, hey, does this make sense? And so on and so on. So how about some of you other guys take advantage of it? We got about 5 minutes left. So, I really would be nice to hear from some of you guys, or at least tell me where you're from. Go for it.
I'm from, as Swede knows, I'm from Northern Ontario, between Thunder Bay and a town called Hearst. Guys in Ontario might be familiar with that. Guys in other parts of Canada, I guess, at sort of the halfway point between Thunder Bay and Toronto and Winnipeg. The American guys might know it better as 8 hours north of Minneapolis, but yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm in the middle of nowhere.
We're almost neighbors, Jordan.
Yeah,
I'm from
Awesome.
King City, just north of Toronto.
yeah, I have an idea where King City is.
It's just south of Newmarket,
Yeah,
north
I've
of
probably
Toronto.
done a few service calls for trucking companies up around King City, but I do a lot for people in Brampton, although I don't like dealing with that crew. But yeah,
Yeah, we're not too far from there.
yeah, sorry to hear.
Well, well,
I
nice
see.
meeting.
I see Martin on the chat. He says he's from the Detroit area. I guess he was afraid to talk. Go ahead. You know what? Let's go down the list. Where are you guys from? Go for it. We had Jordan on, Steven, Chino, Orlando. Go right down the list. Where are you guys from?
Southeast PA.
Southeast. Oh, nice. All you got to do is hit them. There you go, Kevin.
Toledo, Ohio.
Nice.
Marion, Wisconsin.
Good weather up there?
Oh
Palmy?
yeah, it just got above freezing. It had been below zero for about 3 days.
Yeah.
I thought it was closer to Florida weather.
Keep going, guys. This is great. Al was afraid to talk. New York City. She
I'm
probably knows Al.
I'm not afraid to talk. I'm just pretty close to Ann Arbor. I was hoping I wouldn't get too much flack on that one.
No, 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 no. No, no, you're absolutely not.
Dark cloud over that city these days.
No, 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 you're fine. You're fine. Keep going, guys.
Bob and Dan and Douglas. Let us know where you're from.
Yeah.
It's Roger Calhoun. I'm from Chelsea, Michigan. Kind of new to this business. I just started it in '69. So
Oh,
I've been
69?
around for a
Oh,
week or two.
you're a kid. You're a kid, Roger. You're a
All right.
baby.
My body don't think so, but I'll take that. Thanks.
You're welcome. Keep going, guys. Wow. Shy bunch of guys. Harley from Ontario. Sorry I'm late. Also know my Harley. He's a perfect example. He's on pretty near every single month over here. I was wondering where you were, cold.
Harley, where in Ontario are you from?
Milton.
He's even
Guys,
closer.
don't be afraid to speak.
Southern
can't see.
Ontario.
Nice. Actually, there's a lot of Canada representation here. This is great.
Yeah, it's nice to see others from this country
Yes, it is.
take time to I realize it's not really a training lunch and learn, but
Harley's
but
close to the jail. Yeah. Come on, Gino, Geno. You're quiet. You're always, giving me emails and stuff. Eddie, Jose, anybody. Orlando, I know you went to put your mic on. Where are you from?
How about Ken and Tom, our friends?
Yeah. Gee, maybe they needed some lunch or something. Sorry we didn't have the cookies and coffee for you guys. Yeah. Look, we're getting close here. We wanted to try this. We wanted to try this to see how it works. Okay. Gino, listening to all the great heavy duty guys. Thank you, Gino. But I'm going to just put a slide on for a second here. Okay. I remember I put what there, that one there. Okay. Look at it for a second. And what I'm looking at and G is looking at is this is actually, put on by Dorman. Dorman's been doing all these lunch and learns, no costs or anything. So this was my last question. What can Dorman Training Center do to help you guys out? So, or are we doing enough or could there be more?
Good point, Swede. What would they like to see? Coming up with ideas for lunch and learns, especially when we've been doing them for so long, is a tedious job, is what I tell them, because I got to think up different stuff every month. And same with Swede.
Yep. Well, guys, this is the end of the month, and I'm not quite sure what your religion or anything is. On behalf of Dorman, myself, and I know Chi, Wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is, but it is the end of the year. And, everybody, I really mean it sincerely. Thank you for the whole year of watching this. And I know a lot of you guys cross over, watch Cheese Automotive. And I think a lot of you have are kind of like, how to get a hold of us. Just want you to know we're there for you guys, whatever. And I'm a perfect example. I do not know everything. It takes me a lot of research to put some of these lunch and learns together. And I rely on you guys, all the feedback you've been giving throughout all this time we're doing, Stephen Jones, maybe Basic Lab Scope. Absolutely. We got a whole year of things to do. So I figure we'll get through the month. I am speaking of the winter months. I think it was on December 30th. I'm doing an evening 2 hour, I believe it's a 2 hour webinar. I'm just right in the middle of putting that together. And it is tackling, especially now that we uh have so many guys on from Canada and the cold areas. I am putting one together. I don't even remember what I titled it, preparing your vehicles or something for winterizing your vehicles. So I'll go over a bunch of stuff like batteries, the air system, and fuel filtration and all the stuff that that you guys have to contend with all the time, especially if you contend with vehicles that are up in cold areas. And it's not just for people that are from the cold areas. I need to remind everybody because you have vehicles come up from the south and hey, surprise, what happened? My air just froze up. Hello, you do drain your air tanks, don't you? Yeah, yeah. Okay, you know what I'm saying, guys. So, all right. So, if anything else, give us a little. If you like this format, shoot it on a chat or by voice. Tell us if this was okay.